Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Welcome back to Fallout, where today we're going to be taking a look at the history of the Alien Blaster. And this is definitely a weird one because the Alien Blaster has changed a decent amount throughout the Fallout universe. So starting off, the Alien Blaster first appeared in the very first Fallout game, and in this game the Alien Blaster made quite the splash. This is probably within like the top 3 best weapons in the game, honestly. So the Alien Blaster did 30 to 90 damage per shot, which was a huge amount of damage. I think the only gun that actually had higher amounts of total damage than this was like the rocket launcher. I think everything else had less than this. This weapon could compete with basically every weapon in the game, at least in terms of the strongest weapons. The only one that might be a little bit stronger, or at least more consistent than this, would be like the turbo plasma rifle, just because that one did cost less action points to use than something like the Alien Blaster, and it did about 45 to 70 damage, so it didn't have as high a rolls as the Alien Blaster, but it didn't have as low rolls. As well, the Alien Blaster counted as doing electrical damage, which basically nothing had immunity to electrical damage in either Fallout 1 or Fallout 2, so it was actually a very powerful weapon there. Also in Fallout 1, this one took the small energy cell. It didn't yet take the alien energy cell, so it was just as limited as like the plasma pistol and the laser pistol were, meaning that you could have infinite ammo for this weapon. It held 30 rounds in it too, which is surprising since the Alien Blaster would be kind of nerfed from this in the later games. It was just a single-handed weapon, and it did have very, very short range. This only had 10 total range in the very first Fallout game in Fallout 2, meaning that you could really only use this at very close range. It had longer range than like melee or unarmed, and about the same range as like the sawed-off double barrel did. So that's how close a range you had to be to use the Alien Blaster. However, this one was incredibly powerful. It did massive amounts of damage, and it only required 2 strength to wield this effectively, meaning that everybody could wield the Alien Blaster regardless of the build. You may need, I guess, technically power armor in Fallout 1 and 2 to do it if you actually took with 1 strength, but as long as you had more than 1 strength, you could effectively wield the Alien Blaster. This weapon also had its own unique effect in Fallout 1 and 2 called Weapon Accuracy, which just gave it bonus accuracy when it was within the range. So within the 10 range that it did have, it was even more accurate than it otherwise would be, meaning that the Alien Blaster started out as an absolute powerhouse of Fallout 1 and 2. Now, the major downside to the Alien Blaster, though, in both these games, is that there was no guarantee that you could actually get the Alien Blaster, because this was actually tied to a random event, and random events in Fallout 1 and 2 were not like how random events functioned in Fallout 3, and kind of onward into like Vegas and into Fallout 4, where in Fallout 3 you kind of had set locations where random events could take place. So if you were to go to like the Super Duper Mart, you were guaranteed to get a random encounter there. However, it might not be the Alien Blaster encounter, but at least you would know that that was already one random encounter and you could just go to the next one. In Fallout 1 and 2, it was purely random. When you were walking around in the open map, you just had a random chance of actually finding this. These were based off of your luck, so if you had high luck, like 10 luck actually wandering throughout the wasteland, you might actually find the Alien Blaster. But even with a very high luck build character, you weren't guaranteed to find it, meaning that this weapon could be completely unavailable to you in a standard playthrough. And generally speaking, if you didn't have super high luck, it was probably going to be unavailable to you. In Fallout 2, it had all the same exact stats as it did in Fallout 1, and it was found the same exact way. So again, you weren't guaranteed to find it. Fallout 2 was a bigger world than Fallout 1, but it also had more random encounters than Fallout 1. Fallout 1 had like 4 special random encounters, where Fallout 2 had quite a bit more, so you were even less likely to find the Alien Blaster, even if you did have high luck. Although I guess since you were playing the game more, maybe it might even out in terms of total overall playthroughs. In Fallout 3, the Alien Blaster would come around once again, and this time it would not actually be a one-off weapon where you could just actually get one of them. There was actually 2 different Alien Blasters, not even counting the unique version of it. So the Alien Blaster could be found right at the very start of the game, and it was always in a set location in Fallout 3. In order to find this, you had to go far north, and then you could just find the alien crash site. You could pick up the Alien Blaster from there, as well as you can find various energy cells laying around, as well as the Alien Blaster now used the alien power cells, meaning that you did have a very limited amount of ammunition. There was actually a way to cheat this to where you could get infinite ammo. Even in like the console version of this, you could actually do it, so that's kind of funny. But if you were playing the game normally and you weren't aware of that exploit, then you would just have the standard amount of ammunition, and once you ran out of it, that was it. You couldn't use it anymore. The Alien Blaster in Fallout 3 was a very powerful weapon. This one did 100 damage per shot, which was very high, had a 100 times crit modifier on it, so it was guaranteed crits on every shot, regardless of even if you just had 1 luck. This one did 100 crit damage too, so it did even more damage and damage per second than what it would normally do. This one did only hold 10 rounds in it, but it was actually technically pinpoint accurate. I'm not sure sure if that's entirely true though, because it does say that the weapon doesn't have any spread on it, but I still find that it's not always exactly where I shoot it. There was also travel time on the alien blaster shots too. So the alien blaster would be kind of buffed and nerfed in this as opposed to what it was in Fallout 1 and 2, where it was incredibly powerful, and if you wanted to rush it, you could use it. But once you were out of ammo, then that was kind of the end of it. At least it was in the base game, because there was actually a second alien blaster that was added in the Broken Steel DLC. Now, you did have to play through all of the main story in order to get to Broken Steel, and you had to play through pretty much all of the story in Broken Steel to actually get to the second alien blaster, because it couldn't be found until you got to the Enclave base, and even then you needed, I think, 75 lockpicking to get into the locked box that it was in. But once you got that, then you could have a second alien blaster, and it came with even more cells. There was also cells at Fort Independence, I believe, as well as there were kind of two unique variants of the alien blaster. First up was the Fire Lance. This one was the fire version of the alien blaster. This one did less damage at 80, but it did fire damage and damage over time, still had the 100 times multiplier on it, and still used the alien power cells. The Fire Lance was more difficult to find than the alien blaster, since the alien blaster was always guaranteed in those spots, as well as the alien blaster also became part of Mothership Zeta once that DLC came out, so you could no longer just rush right to it at the very start of Fallout 3 if you didn't also want to start out the Alien DLC. The Fire Lance was actually in a random encounter, although like I explained in Fallout 1, random encounters did have set locations, so if you knew it wasn't in one area, you could go to the next area and go to the next area and go to the next area, and then hope for the Fire Lance to kind of explode above your head. There was an alien ship that exploded above your head and the Fire Lance came falling out of it, as well as energy cells. So you could pick those up. It wasn't always super easy to find the Fire Lance though. Sometimes it would fall through the floor, sometimes it would kind of blend in with stuff, so it was actually really difficult to find. If you had Dogmeat, this would actually be a whole lot easier, because you could just send him out to go and find this weapon if you knew the general location, and he could also pick up the ammo for you, so that's pretty nice. As well as the Fire Lance was the best weapon to be using with the Pyromaniac perk, since it was basically the only fire weapon that was worthwhile using outside of, I guess, like the heavy incinerator. And I guess sort of the shish kebab too. Shish kebab was nice, it's just that the Deathclaw Gauntlet was better than it. So Fire Lance was pretty cool, and it was pretty cool that it was actually a unique weapon, so every playthrough you didn't actually know where it was. There was also the Captain's Sidearm that was added in Mothership Zeta, which you get from the Captain. This one acted like a shotgun, which automatically made it really strong in Fallout 3. So this one did 35 damage, but that was spread over 6 pellets, 6 alien shots, and this one used the alien power module, which is an infinite resource. You can actually get all the ammo for this just going back to the alien ship and finding stuff. This one held 30 rounds, but it did consume 3 ammo per shot, so you actually got 10 shots out of it, and since this one counted as a shotgun, this one actually did 240 crit damage on hit, because every single ball could crit with it, so it could do more damage than something like the alien blaster, or at least more DPS, although the alien blaster did do a lot, and it had guaranteed crits, so you're kind of gambling with that. The alien blaster would generally beat this one, but at least this one had infinite ammo. Kind of a cool gun to use, but maybe not the strongest. The alien blaster would return once again into Fallout New Vegas. This time it was actually tied to the trait Wild Wasteland though. So at the very start of the game, you could take Wild Wasteland, and then if you headed north above New Vegas, then you could actually find an area where there was 3 aliens there, and one of them had the alien blaster as well as they had the cells on them. So you could use it there, and this one did basically everything that it did in Fallout 3. So tons of damage, pretty much guaranteed crits. It was a very powerful weapon, maybe not as strong as it was in Fallout 3. New Vegas did have a lot more powerful weapons than 3 did, not counting the shotguns, but overall, generally stronger weapons. So this one wasn't competing with as many weapons, but it was still a very solid weapon overall if you wanted to get it. If you didn't take Wild Wasteland in order to get this, then at that same location would be the unique Gauss rifle, the YCS 186. That one, generally, I would say is better than the Alien Blaster is, since that one has unlimited ammo, it does more damage per shot, it makes for a better sniper rifle for energy builds. I think it is better overall than the Alien Blaster was in New Vegas. However, you could actually get both of these, at least if you had the Old World Blues DLC, to where you could take Wild Wasteland right away, run up and grab this from the aliens, go to Old World Blues, complete that, and then change your traits over to something else. So you didn't have Wild Wasteland, then you could also get the Gauss rifle. that's quite a bit of steps for you just to get like another unique weapon, but you could do it if you would like. I think it's probably easier if you just pick one or the other though. But either way, the Alien Blaster was still pretty strong into New Vegas. And then finally, the Alien Blaster would appear once again into Fallout 4. This one had a similar event to Fallout 3 though, where you had to go to a certain location. This was just outside of the main Boston area, where you could find some trees that were knocked over and some fire kind of leading to them, as well as a crash site. Once you see that, you could find some alien blood that was on the ground, and then if you follow that to a nearby cave, there is an alien inside there where you can kill the alien and then take his energy weapon. The Alien Blaster would be using the Alien Blaster rounds this time around, or it could be converted to fusion cells with upgrades, so that made it so you could potentially have unlimited ammo with this, which is pretty nice, since the Alien Blaster once again did good damage per second. It was fairly accurate in Fallout 4 as well, and it did have at least a couple of mods to it. The Alien Blaster once again changed models in this. It's kind of always been based off of a 1950s sci-fi movie of what aliens might have as weapons, but it's changed that every time throughout the Fallout games, which I actually enjoy quite a bit. It's cool to see different models of like sci-fi weapons like this, so that's pretty awesome. Overall, the Alien Blaster was very solid. There was actually one additional one that was added in one of the DLCs too. In Nuka-World, you could actually go over to the Hubologists, which actually first appeared in Fallout 2, so that's interesting. They didn't really have alien weapons though in that one, and it was more of a stab at like Scientology. In Fallout 4, not so much. The Hubologists, you can help out. They need so many things to actually get their ship running, and then you can let the carnival ride begin, as it would be, but the Hub Alien Blaster is what you get as a reward from completing that quest. And this one actually did more damage per shot than the regular Alien Blaster, more DPS, had all the same mods, so that was kind of cool, but it also had its own unique effect of 2 times extra crit shot damage, and it could refill your crit meter faster, which is pretty good if you like using VATS. I really don't in Fallout 4, but if you wanted to do that, then this one would be pretty solid, and rushing to Nuka-World isn't really a bad idea. I wouldn't say that this is the best weapon in Nuka-World, because the AKs exist there, and that's substantially better than most weapons in this game. So the Alien Blaster's had a pretty long history throughout the Fallout games. It's appeared in almost all of them, and generally it's been a pretty strong weapon, but it's always kind of been like a more gag weapon. In the early games in Fallout 1 and 2 is probably where it was the strongest, because it just could potentially show up right at the very start of the game, and then you have an easy mode game all the way through, as opposed to the later games where it usually had set locations, but you did need to find its specific ammo, and if you didn't know about certain exploits, you were probably just going to use it until it was empty and then toss it away. Either way, a pretty interesting weapon. Thank you guys so very much for watching this. Tell me your thoughts on the Alien Blaster and all of its different versions. I think it's a pretty cool weapon. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.